The number of fragrances that are becoming available to us are increasing year over year. Now, sure, some things get discontinued along the way, but we're definitely getting newer things in at a quicker rate than things are being discontinued and cut off completely. So with that, you start to wonder, okay, what fragrances are just kind of filler, what fragrances are just kind of out there to be out there. A brand is like, okay, we should probably put something out. That would really help our sales here in fourth quarter. So let's just rush this out, right? That's happening more and more. And so sometimes it can be a little bit tough to sift past those filler fragrances, those underwhelming releases, in order to find the truly, really solid ones. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a ton of amazing fragrances out there. Fillers and kind of boring releases do exist here from time to time, but I don't want you to think that's everything. There are a lot of good ones out there, and today I'm just going to be covering 12 of them. Like I said, only 12. There are so many more that we could go over. There are so many more that could have been in this video, but I only had to narrow it down to a select few. So if you're wanting to get into some fragrances that are just amazing, they're scents that you're almost guaranteed to love, they're just really, really solid releases, this is going to be the video for you. Now, I am sticking with designers here, so we're kind of looking at a price point that's going to be easily obtainable to pretty much everybody for the most part. And also, being that they are designers, they're going to be scents that you can get your money's worth out of and that you can wear on a consistent basis. We're not getting into niche where it's going to be a little bit more situational and it might be a little bit hard to pull off, and it might sit there on the shelf and not be worn more than it actually is being used. So you'll be able to really wear these a lot. Now, I will provide links to these down below. I'm also doing giveaways over on my community tab every month, $500 giveaways that you can use and spend on whatever you want, posting deals over there as well. And I have an emailing list you can sign up to if you want to get those deals via email so you don't miss out. So let's get things kicked off with Hugo Boss Bottled Oud. So this one comes in right around mid $50 range. And what I like so much about it is you get that original Boss bottle DNA, the apple, cinnamon, sweetness, with just a little bit of oud. Now, I don't want this to scare you. You might see the name in the title, oud in the title. You might think, it's just not going to be for me. But it is very, very easy to pull off. Trust me. I mean, it's a designer level oud. With that, it is a synthetic oud, and it's a compound that is very light in this instance. I mean, you pick up on it, but the type of oud that they're using here is not so heavy and strong that it's going to be completely off-putting. It really is very well balanced with everything else going on in this. I think this one is great for fall and winter time. It's one that will set you apart a little bit. It's something that'll kind of give you a little bit of a refreshing take, if you're kind of tired of smelling a lot of the other stuff that's being put out now. While this is still a familiar DNA with the Boss bottled, signature smell in here, it's kind of a little bit of a revived take on that, and I really like it for that reason. I think this is a great release, especially at this price point. Some of the other oud ones can be a little bit more expensive. With that, they also are a little bit more challenging. This one's very easy to pull off. Now, this next one you can generally get for a pretty affordable price as well, although it is newer, so it's going to be all over the place a little bit. Narciso Rodriguez Bleu Noir Parfum. So this one has iris, musk, vetiver, and a little bit of cedarwood in here as well. Just had a domino effect with my bottles down there, if you heard that. Now, this one I really like a lot because they're taking this already successful DNA, the woody, fresh, blue noir DNA. They're adding in a nice dusty iris. And so this one's interesting because you have a fresh DNA mixing with a sweet iris, and that's a little bit backwards compared to what a lot of other brands are doing. You kind of have a sweet DNA with a sweet iris, or a fresh DNA with a fresh iris. This one's kind of combining two different worlds here, fresh and sweet compounds, to create something that's very versatile, very nice. This one kind of fits into the category of some of the other big sweet irises, Dior, Givenchy, Valentino, right? But it's going to be a little bit more versatile because of that freshness. So I think from a beginner standpoint, this is amazing. And even if you already have all those other sweet iris fragrances, this is still nice to have because you might be able to wear it when it's a little bit warmer outside compared to those others. Next up, we have Brioni Eau de Parfum, just the original. This is not the Eau de Parfum Intense version. That has violet, cedar, and ozonic notes in here. Very fresh, very invigorating, very uplifting. It's really nice. And that violet signature accord in here is something that you pick up on immediately. I mean, that is a note that stands out time and time again, and it's so easy to, identify. So if you're newer to fragrances and you're kind of trying to wrap your head around, oh, how can people smell certain types of notes? You can smell something like this, and the thing that you smell the most of will be the violet, and that'll kind of tell you what that smells like. You know, there's some other notes out there like maybe a sandalwood or something along those lines that maybe can blend in a little bit more, and it can be a little bit more challenging if you're newer. But something like this is really easy to kind of start with and be like, okay, yeah, I'm getting that violet. And once you identify it in something like this, you'll be able to pick it up in everything else that uses the note, at least to some extent. Now, this one's going to be nice and fresh and masculine and very wearable. And generally, most guys out there aren't going to be smelling like this. So it's kind of going to set you apart. I think it's got great quality, great performance, and a really nice release to have around. Let's keep it moving with Acqua di Gio Profondo Lights. So if the original and the Eau de Parfum and Profondo and Profumo and what else do we have? Absolu. If those are too predictable for you, check out Profondo Lights. Simplest way to put this one is it's going to be a more aromatic and woody take on the DNA, essentially. So you do have the C notes, you have the orange, but then you get some cypress, some other aromatics in here as well, some woody notes, some cedar wood, like a little bit of a rosemary type of smell. You know, it still kind of maintains a hint of that DNA, but it goes in a much more different direction. And so, again, if those others are too boring, they're too similar, they're too familiar, whatever it may be, and you just want something a little bit different, but you still want some of that signature Acqua di Gio DNA, check out Profondo Lights. This one isn't receiving as much love just because it's not quite as mainstream as those others, but from a standpoint of having something a bit more unique, this is a really nice one to have around. And a fun little fact about it, this does glow in the dark. So the text all up here, that glows in the dark. You know, light it up with your phone, turn off your lights, and it glows. It doesn't really matter from a scent standpoint, but it's a cool little feature. Now let's move over to a cheapie up next. I think this one generally is around $30, $35. You can get testers for a bit less, and testers do come with a cap, which is always really nice. This one actually is not a tester, but I have another flanker of this that is, and it did come with the cap. This is Halloween Man Shot. Okay, so Halloween Man X is the one that I have that is a tester, came with a cap. And to be fair, that could have been included in the video as well, but I do talk about it a lot, and I don't talk about this as much. Now, this has iris in here. It's got a little bit of vanilla. It's got this unique daiquiri accord, a little bit of tonka bean. It's very sweet, but in a different way. You know, it's got this kind of almost syrupy creaminess about it that a lot of others don't really have, and there is some balance. So like off the top there, you do get a little bit of a freshness and almost like a fruitiness to some extent. So it's pretty easy to like and enjoy. It's not so sweet that it's completely obnoxious. It kind of strikes a nice middle ground here. And I think for the price, this is really, really nice for the fall and winter time. Could be one of those great beater type of scents. You know, you just pick it up, spray it on heavily, and go about your day, and you're not throwing money away. You know, it's just really nice to have around, and I think it's a really solid scent. Now, this next one is among, you know, just one of my favorite fragrance lines. And there's just a few in here that are nostalgic to me. One of them is my favorite, or one of my favorite winter fragrances of all time. And this is the newest flanker within the line, and it's really been growing on me a lot. When I first got it in, I liked it, but I didn't really see a fit for it as much as some of the others, but now that's kind of changing. It's actually Spice Bomb Infrared. So Spice Bomb Extreme is what I was talking about there, one of my favorite winter scents ever. I just wore that not last night, but the night before. I like to wear it in the evenings at home. It's really nice, really comforting. And the original Spice Bomb, just the Eau de Toilette, is another one that I still wear. It's crazy. I just love the DNA. I really, really enjoy it. It's just one of those things that it just puts a smile on my face when I wear it. It's just super fitting to what I look for, all the tobacco and the warm spices and that sort of thing. Now, Infrared's very similar to the original, but it has this red fruits accord, which gives it, as you could imagine, a different type of a spicy, warm fruitiness that the original and Extreme and any of the others don't really have. Still get a lot of the tobacco, still get a lot of the cinnamon, very much still is a spicy, warm scent, but with a different approach just slightly, you know, and it's enough to make it worthwhile, but it's also not enough to where it completely throws it off. Very well balanced here in terms of a flanker release, and I really like it a lot. I think this is a great release. It's a great performer. It's really a nice, mass-pleasing wintertime scent, and I love it. Really can't recommend this enough if you're a fan of the Spice Bomb DNA. Okay, up next, another one that's affordable, and this is really impressive at this price point. You know, this is Robert Graham Fortitude. So this is all about the tobacco, and you guys know, like what I was talking about a second ago there, I love tobacco and fragrances. I just really do. It's got tonka bean and patchouli to go along with that as well. Almost like a hint of a vanilla accord in the dry down, just a little bit, but it doesn't take away from the scent overall. Still very much tobacco and that sort of thing is kind of the focus of this one. You know, it won't be quite as good to me as Spice Bomb Extreme or Parfums de Marly Herod or something crazy like that, but at this price point, one of the best tobacco fragrances that you can buy. Dolce & Gabbana The One is another one that's right around there, same price point, a little bit more affordable sometimes. Another great tobacco. This one does perform better if that is a concern for you, but really, price point wise, one of the best tobaccos you can get. So if you're on a budget, this is the one for you. Up next, Rocus L'Homme, just the original here. Now, they did come out with L'Homme Aromatic Touch in a green bottle, somewhat similar to the hoodie that I have on, although maybe a little bit darker. And I don't like it as much. In fact, before the video, when I was putting this together, I picked it up and I tried it again. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it another try before I do this video. Maybe I'll end up liking it more. And I didn't. I just didn't like it that much. I don't know. The original, or I'm sorry, Aromatic Touch doesn't do it for me, but this one really does. It's got juniper berries, some pineapple in here, some nice woods, some amber. It smells a little bit like a much more refined version of Dolce & Gabbana K, and I much prefer this to K. That's another one actually that I didn't really like that much. The Eau de Parfum is better than the EDT, but I think this takes the cake. It's much more affordable. This you can get for as low as like $27 for testers with a cap. Full presentation like 30, 31, 33 something, but it's uber affordable. I mean, we're talking cheapy price, and this does not smell like a cheapie. It's a little bit more masculine and mature than your typical scent in this price point. You know, it's a little bit more traditional, so to speak, and I really like it. I think it's a great pickup for pretty much everybody out there. Okay, this next one is going to be a little bit controversial for some, but I do think this is one of the better ones you could get from the line. When we're talking, I don't know, bang for your buck from a collector standpoint, essentially. And I'll explain what I mean in a minute. And there's another one that I could have put in here as well, but it's actually DIOR Sauvage Parfum. So the EDT and the EDP just aren't going to do it for people anymore. That is people who are collectors and they want something that's going to be a little bit more pleasing to the nose from a collector standpoint. You know, I like Eau de Toilette, I like the Eau de Parfum. I wear the EDT actually relatively often in the spring, summertime, believe it or not, really just do. And, you know, I like it. But from a enthusiast standpoint, in terms of just quality and nuances, I do like the Parfum better in that regard. You know, for me, the EDT is nostalgic. I made a lot of great memories with it. It's just a monstrous performer. It's bright, it's uplifting, but the Parfum is really well done. And you could have put Elixir in here as well. Similar deal. I've talked about it to death. So, therefore, I'm going to throw in the Parfum for you. I do think this one is worth checking out. I think this one was skipped over. I've talked about this before. I'll run through it really quickly. The EDT, everyone got on it because it was, you know, kind of like Dior's answer to Bleu de Chanel. Everyone had to get it. They started getting hyped because it's a performance complement beast, and so it took off like crazy. The Eau de Parfum came out, and now there's a huge anticipation for that flanker because the EDT was such a hit, right? People wore through that. The kind of hype train was there, and then it left. And the Parfum came out, and with the higher price point and just, you know, I just don't think the Parfum got nearly as much hype. I mean, you just don't see it nearly as much, and you didn't nearly as much. Now, Elixir, that one took off because it's different than Sauvage. Like, it smells different than all of them. And also, I don't think anyone was really expecting that, so it was kind of straight out of left field. At this point, the Parfum was expected after we got the EDP and Bleu de Chanel, EDP, EDT, Parfum, not in that particular order. So that's kind of my theory on why this one was left out a little bit. And so because of that, I think you should check it out. It's got bergamot, orange, sandalwood, olibanum, and tonka bean. Different note breakdown, but a really, really nice one to have. Great performance as well, and still has that mass appeal. Now, this next one will be a little bit more challenging, but I did want to throw it in for guys out there who want something a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more of a challenging scent, perhaps. Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense. Now, this has amber, like you would imagine, but really for me, it's all about the patchouli, the myrrh. There's some sandalwood in here as well. Did I say tonka bean? I don't know if I did, but it does have some of that amber, of course, right? Smoky, resinous, sweet, but still with this very classy upscale smell. You know, it's a Prada, and they generally do a very good job of maintaining this type of image and smell of just class and luxury, and this one does that to a T. You know, it's going to be a little bit more perhaps older smelling to some people, so I do caution you with that. But if you like heavy patchouli, ambery scents, you should definitely check this one out. I don't know what the status of this one is on whether it's still being produced or not, but you can typically get it on discounters with relative ease, so it's worth checking out. All right, we're almost done. My Sauvage rant took up too much time. So Guerlain L'Homme L'Intense. Completely had a little bit of a brain blockage there because I'm trying to finish this one out quickly. So this has almond, it's got smoke, it has chili pepper, and a little bit of another kind of vanillic sweetness in here, but really it's all about that L'Homme DNA, the almond, with a ton of smoke and spiciness. So this is going to be much more smoky and spicy than the EDT, EDP, the Extreme, all of that stuff. This is truly amped up. It is intense to the extreme. This is by far the most impactful one, the most powerful one. I mean, when you smell this, you can't mistake it. You can't get away from it. I mean, you smell it, it's right there. It makes a statement, a very bold scent, but a really nice one as well. And last up for this video, Armani Code ABSOLU Gold. So I've talked about the original Absolu a ton of times, and this one's been featured here and there. What I like about it is the iris mixing with the benzoin and tonka. So instead of having a super syrupy sweet vanilla like Absolu, the benzoin in this case is acting like more of a dusty powdery smell mixing with the tonka. But then you get kind of this silky smooth type of smell from the iris in here. So really, really nice combination. I mean, it is breathtaking. The original Absolu is still one of my favorites, but from time to time I do like to switch it up and go with this one, and I never regret that choice. I always love when I wear this, and it's definitely one worth checking out if you are a fan of the original Absolu. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Hopefully you guys get some use out of these. Hopefully you like them. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these, so if you're on the market for some of these, you can use the links down below and check them out. That's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.